Olá, bem-vindo à segunda parte do De Frente com o Touro, diretamente de Nova York, dos estúdios da Nasdaq, que gentilmente me cedeu o espaço. Agora nós vamos conversar com Efraim Slan, que é vice-presidente aqui da Nasdaq e também é o chefe da área de análise de índices no mundo inteiro para a Nasdaq. Efraim, thank you very much for talking to me again.
Thanks for coming. Great to see you.
Great to see you also again. So, Efraim, last year we spoke a little bit about your role here in Nasdaq, but here now we are 1 year later. So please, could you refresh a little bit us? Tell us how has your role in Nasdaq evolved? How things are going here?
Sure. Things are great. So I'm the head of research, right, still for our index business. So all content that we put out around our indexes globally, I'm responsible for. Mm-hmm. I'm also responsible for a team called Product Solutions within the index business. So what that means is if we look at our indexes on a routinely basis and say, do the indexes need to have a methodology change to ensure, if there's changing market dynamics, do we need to ever make a change? That's something we would look to do. The other part too is, looking to launch indexes where you look to outsource that calculation to outside vendors, right? Mm-hmm. And if you don't have the capability to do that internally here.
Mm-hmm. You mean for other companies also, right?
Yeah, to support product providers.
I see. Okay, can you explain a little bit what is exactly an index for the retail investors in Brazil? If you could detail what is an index and how it's used by the market investors, by the people, the retail investors globally in the US and Brazil and so on.
Sure. So a little refresher from last year, right? An index, right, can be comprised. It can be different ways to think about it, right? Here at Nasdaq, right, we calculate financial indexes, mm-hmm. right? But when I think what an index is, right, at its fundamental course, it's a way for someone to track something, right? That's at its core. At Nasdaq here, we calculate financial indexes. Indexes comprised of securities, can be across any asset class. Equities, fixed income, commodities, futures,
sectors
options,
also.
Sectors, exactly. And frankly, that's what the definition, right, is meant to be, and what the types of indexes that we calculate here. We're most known for the Nasdaq 100 or the Nasdaq Composite. So the Nasdaq Composite is an index comprised of all securities listed on the Nasdaq exchange. The Nasdaq 100 is the 100 largest non-financial companies.
Non-financial.
Exactly, from the composite, right? One thing that's important to note, right, you can't invest directly in an index, so Nasdaq works with product partners in the marketplace to track our indexes to create investment vehicles for folks to buy. Mm-hmm. So if you're interested in taking a view on the marketplace, you'd actually have to, in order to buy something, you'd actually have to go buy something that tracks our index either directly, right, or indirectly, where they're actually utilizing our indexes benchmarks.
And what would that be, like ETFs?
Exactly, so an exchange traded fund or ETF or a mutual fund or frankly derivatives like options, futures, mm-hmm. unit investment trusts, many different types of products.
Efraim, tell me something please for the Brazilian audience. Why might an investor consider an ETF compared to single stocks?
Of course, so an ETF or an exchange-traded fund, right, it holds a basket of securities, generally speaking, right? Of course, here in the U.S., just recently, they actually do have ETFs with single securities, mm-hmm. but generally speaking, ETFs hold a basket of securities, and it's about diversification.
Of course.
Right, and the Nasdaq 100, as an example, we talked about last year, as a refresher from that, right, holds 100 companies, right? The non-financial, largest domestic international 100 companies listed on Nasdaq.
Non-financial.
That's right. And each year in December, we have the annual reconstitution, right? That is
like
handled
a rebalance.
Exactly.
Okay.
And the other 3 quarters, right, the index is reweighted, so it's rebalanced. Of course, outside of that, over the course of the year, there's corporate actions, mergers and acquisitions, right? Companies might go private, might list, and they might make changes, right? Of course, all those changes that could occur over the course of the year, that's handled just by holding the product that tracks the index, right? If you bought just that ETF that tracks the index, you wouldn't have to do any other buying and selling to mimic the benefits, right, of the index. So as opposed to saying, all right, that's really the trade-off that we're talking
There are ETFs of single stocks?
There are here in the U.S.
Oh, interesting.
Very recent.
Very good. Could you explain a little bit more about the partnerships of Nasdaq and how do you work with clients?
Sure. So I was starting to get at before, right? Our indexes are meant for folks as a barometer to track. So we work directly with product providers like Invesco, like First Trust, like XP, right? Down in Brazil, right? And we work with them to help them bring product to market. So we'll launch an index, or we'll already have indexes on our shelf, right? That we provide to the marketplace, and they'll come and say, we'd like to launch an ETF or a mutual fund that tracks that index directly. And so we will help them by offering the index if it's not available, or provide research and content for those that are already on the shelf. Again, like I said, we already have in our queue.
Well, 2022 was a very turbulent year, and the start of 2023 also we saw a lot of it's like a roller coaster, the markets, right? How does the Nasdaq 100 reflect the current market trends?
So when you think about the Nasdaq 100, again, it's the 100 largest non-financial companies, both domestic and international, that are listed. They're non-financial, listed on Nasdaq, right? They represent innovation across many sectors. Yes, they're definitely technology heavy. No question about that. But Netflix, right? Costco, Starbucks, Comcast, Pepsi. These are all companies within the Nasdaq 100 that are not technology. So you get a good mix of companies across. So when we're talking about what actually the Nasdaq 100 is and how it's representative in the marketplace, it's represented by those companies, by those sectors, right? Of course, we have Mercado Libre, another great example of a company here. And again, that's really what the index is meant to do. It's meant to show the performance in aggregate in a diversified fashion across sectors, what the index actually performance is.
Okay, great. Thank you very much. Would you like to send a final message to our Brazilian public?
Yes, certainly. I guess when we think about trends that have also occurred just generally within the markets, yes, depending upon your investor tolerance, right? Folks have certainly been interested in fixed income. Have also been interested in equities, and there's always, a focus, right, to consider of, do I think about I only have to, look at my own, country for investment. But being global is really important, right? Again, that's why the Nasdaq 100 is such a unique spot, right? That we provide that exposure to domestic and international. But even beyond that, right? What are the other types of asset classes to consider? So again, I said equities, I said fixed income, right? But options really is another interesting way to take that, to potentially take that exposure. In today's market environment, options overlay solutions can provide meaningful support, right? Depending on what you're trying to accomplish, for risk mitigation purposes or for yield, right? Supporting you on the upside or the downside. And just actually the other day, really proud to say that my team actually just got published in the Journal of Beta Investment Strategies.
Oh, congratulations.
Thank you. Covering option strategies. So it's a really great article. So definitely wanted to make sure I threw that plug in there, that really excited about that article getting out there.
To great. Send me the article, please. I want to read it.
Absolutely.
Okay, pleasure. Thank you very much, Ephraim.
Pleasure.
I'll see you next year, hopefully.
Sounds great.
Ok. E você de casa, continue acompanhando. Espero que vocês tenham gostado do programa. Continuem acompanhando a programação da Jovem Pan. Fique aí. Vai, Torinho! Vai, Torinho! Valeu!
Realização Jovem Pan News.